All right, let's talk about Wonder Woman 1984 on this episode of DC On Screen, right after these messages from these sponsors that these hosts had no approval of.
It's important to properly dispose of unwanted medication or sharps. MedProject offers free and convenient disposal options near you. To learn more, call 844-MED-PROJECT or visit medproject.org.
Young people arrive at Covenant House with dreams that have been disrupted by homelessness. For over 50 years, Covenant House has been fighting the crisis of youth homelessness. In fact, this year, Covenant House will provide nearly 800,000 nights of safe housing. Through education and workforce development programs, they're helping young people escaping homelessness and trafficking with stability and independence. Youth overcome homelessness when they have a safe place to sleep and the chance to rebuild their lives. To give or get help, visit covenanthouse.org.
Welcome into DC On Screen, episode 622. This is the podcast where we talk about the DC Comics multiverse on film and television, give honest opinions on projects upcoming and past, and believe that every version of a property is valid, even if we don't want it to be. If it's been released, it is fair game, so beware of spoilers, and welcome to the show. I am David Z. Robertson, and this is the man who came to power by becoming a magic god rock, Jason Goss.
Hi. I regret everything.
Do you renounce your wish?
Most certainly.
No, I do.
Don't miss the migraines.
Well, that's fair. Or the nosebleeds, or that wonky eye.
Or the eye bleed, or hair bleed.
Yeah. All right, well, before we get into our big review of Wonder Woman 1984, finally, I want to thank the patrons. $1 a month, if you want to help, gets you every episode ad-free. $5 a month gets you that, plus whatever the hell else we decide to put up. So we just put up an entire Patreon episode. It was like 30 minutes long. Us just talking about paranormal podcasts, talking about Fire in the Sky with DB Sweeney. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, man. Go check it out. If you don't want to deal with Patreon, or if you already do and want to help us out more, you can go to dconscreen.com and click the donate button. It is a relatively painless process, I'm told. And if you want to support the show and get some swag for it, check out our merch store, linked on dconscreen.com right next to the donate button. It says store, appropriately, I think.
Right. Make this all tracks. Makes sense.
And you can always leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts, because that always helps, and that is free. And now we come to the written part of the show where we talk about our opinions on Wonder Woman 1984.
And this is going to be interesting.
It is going to be interesting because we have very cursory knowledge of our opinions, of each other's opinions, going into this thing. And I'd like to start by saying, Gal Gadot is wonderful as ever. And Chris Pine is delightful. And in the nicest way possible, the man looks more like William Shatner every day in his mannerisms. And my God, I hope he gets back to a Star Trek 4 somehow.
You're not wrong. Like, they're going to meld one day the same way like Zach Braff and what's his name? Kristen Bell's Dak Shepard's.
Dak Shepard, yeah.
Yeah, they just every day they look more like each other.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think there's more of an age gap here, but still.
Yeah.
We maybe just need to like send Chris Pine a bunch of cigarettes or something.
Yep. Oh, and I'll say this for Kristen Wiig, she's got range.
Oh, hell yeah.
She's got some range.
I've seen glimpses of it before. It was nice to see it on real display here.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff with her in it. I like her a lot.
Yeah, she's all around solid.
My next statement is, you remember how I talked about Zach on Film Junkie? How Zack Snyder said that he felt like all of the non-Snyder films, the Snyder-directed films, were in their own universe within the multiverse because, he doesn't want to impede on another director's vision like was done to him.
Sure.
I'm going to take him up on this offer for this movie, because this movie don't make sense with anything that Zack made. Certainly doesn't make sense with BVS or Man of Steel. Or with Man of Steel, maybe like all the magic everybody experienced in the entire world, maybe that is why they don't get upset or at an IHOP with the aliens. Gotcha. That's my problem? Singular?
No. You said it didn't fit into the universe, and I was wondering what the big reveal there was going to be. Like, okay,
well, there's all the magic. There's
Mhm.
exactly when does Wonder Woman unlearn to fly? Is the invisibility thing a skill she just forgets as quickly as she apparently learned it when she invisibled the plane?
Mhm.
Because that invisibility thing could have worked, great when she was fighting Doomsday.
When?
BVS.
No, when in that fight was that guy actually going to help anything?
Her being invisible?
Oh, I wasn't under
That-
the impression that she could invisible herself. Only
Why?
things.
Well, I mean, we didn't
Because
see
even in
her
the
in
movie,
the
she wasn't
sky.
invisible the inside of the plane or herself or.
Except for when we saw the outside of the plane, we didn't see her. We didn't see Steve floating
it's
in
a cloaking
midair.
thing more than.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, like.
Is she
it's
invisible to
closer
coffee
Star
mug?
Trek's cloaking than it is to invisibility.
Well, she invisible to coffee mug and then couldn't find it later.
Yeah, but that's like an external object.
Why couldn't she invisible herself?
I wouldn't
That
remember where the
doesn't
fuck
make
I put that thing after a while.
any sense. Zeus invisibled all of the Amazons while they were on the island.
And all of his sex crimes.
Yes, naturally.
As one would do with all that power, I guess.
I didn't buy how quickly she because she said she'd only made it work once on a coffee mug, and I understand that was for a joke.
It's a quick
Ha, ha,
ramp
ha.
up. Yeah.
And then like not only does she make it work for the duration of their long flight, we never see her use it again.
Well, she specifically says she doesn't understand how long it lasts once she does it.
Mm-hmm.
So, in theory, the problem is more that she expands the scope of it rather than the length of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like making it happen on a coffee mug that she doesn't, like, for all she knows, is still invisible because she can't find it now, is kind of what they point out in the scene. So, it's really more that she managed to learn how to do that quickly on the entire plane. But the fact that it's still invisible is well within the scope of what they described.
Yeah, I just
Also, just really taken with the earlier part of the scene where he's just so fucking geeking out about the planes.
yeah, that was a nice touch, but
And the radar
Yeah.
thing. The radar thing really cracked me up. Oh, they'll see us anywhere. Well, shit, Diana.
yeah, that was fun. Like I said, Steve is great. Chris Pine is great in the role. All of the Steve acclimating to 1980s stuff is delightful.
Yeah, that whole little montage was pretty fun.
I just, and I guess that, what you're saying kind of points out a separate but connected problem, which is this movie sort of just never gives us any rules so that they could do whatever the hell they want and they don't ever actually have to abide by anything.
Explain.
But Diana's like, I don't know how it works. Like, it's, they never actually, like, I don't know when we find out that the thing is the rock is like a monkey's paw. There's like, they just kind of guess at that, and that happens to be true. Like, that's a kind of a weird thing to just guess at.
Okay, honestly, I don't think you're technically wrong, but I'm going to disagree with you in the sense that I don't feel like that could not be not true. Like, why would there be a stone sitting around that gave non-monkey pawish wishes and it was just buried somewhere? This would be the greatest achievement of mankind. Like, it would be like the way Hitler chased around, artifacts like the Ark of the Covenant and the Spear of Destiny. Like, and by the way, those are both true things that really happened. Dude was a meth head. Deal with it. Like, it is what it is. But if there was such a device in the world of man, we would be falling over ourselves for it. That would be like, there wouldn't even be separate governments in the world.
And isn't that
The idea that it's not a monkey paw makes less sense than that they didn't describe the fact that it's a monkey paw.
And guess what? You just wrote a better movie.
No, I just didn't have to explain all that because I feel like it's pretty much taken as read to me. Like, why would you not? There's no version of like, well, that, and it's thematically sort of where we were going with the whole movie. It's not like they didn't nod to it. I mean, she takes the shortcut in the early Amazon race on the Mascara.
Yeah, that was like at the moment I was like, woo, you guys are beating us over the head with what's going to happen with Steve Trevor at the end of this thing, aren't you?
Well, there's that. There's also like, it's the shortcut is never the answer is kind of the theme of the entire thing. I mean, the entirety of Max Warlord's business plan is basically just, take as many investors as you can and be as charismatic as possible and hope it works out. I feel like it would take more time to explain why it wasn't a monkey's paw, is what I'm saying.
I mean, I don't
thematically it's there.
Yes, it can be, but at the same time, it's just dumb. And I think it would have been more interesting if it was just our own human nature fighting over some damn thing that just grants us wishes for no reason, rather than like trying to make it like, oh, but there's a cost, there's a drawback. Like, I think it would have fit in more with the first movie with how humans are just corrupt as shit.
Well, we are, and thematically that still tracked because we ultimately just made a bunch of really selfish wishes. Like that's what happened to the entirety of the
That's true.
third part of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was off with what we've been shown before in Wonder Woman.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. If you feel that way, I guess. Let's see. I hate to bring this stuff up, so early on, but it was the first thing that took me out of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible wire work. Terrible. Like bad gravity, bad physics.
The mall scene?
Before the mall scene, like the Amazon games or whatever, like none of those Amazons looked like they were like doing anything in any kind of real world. Like it was.
I'm going to agree with you here, but I'm going to do it in two pieces. One, like the Themyscira kind of like exhibition thing they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
At least like it looked like they were defying the laws of physics in a way that I was like, I don't know, kind of rooting for them. Made sense. I was digging that a little bit. The mall scene is the part where I was like, man, I don't like how this went down. Like, wow. There were moments of that piece of the action sequence where I was like, I don't like this. This doesn't make sense.
Now, like jumping back to the young Diana at the at the Olympics or whatever they were. First of all, I didn't believe, aside from the green screen and all that stuff, but just being bad, looking rough. I thought they kept putting this on the shelf and working on it. Like, are we serious? I didn't believe for a minute those Amazons couldn't decimate a little girl in that competition. How did she lead them for so long? And I thought it was really far too convenient that she would get knocked off her horse at the perfect spot to see and use that shortcut. But so the mall, God, they make such a point. It shows giant cheeseburgers. I'm like, yeah, the cheeseburgers are big and cheesy, and so are the villains. Like, we had like overacting to the hilt, like RoboCop bad guys. Like, they really did go for the 80s. Like, these guys are ridiculous.
That's the one part where I'm like, I don't disagree with your take. I just feel like that was a choice. And I would like to hear it confirmed that it was a choice because it'd make you feel better. But yeah, they looked like bad 80s. Like, this was an episode of the A-Team.
I mean, it fits with Patty's sensibilities when you look at the first Wonder Woman and you have, Dr. Poison and General Douchebag laughing maniacally as they throw the one gas mask into the room, I
mean, yeah, but this is the
She's
point
a fan
where
of Donner villains, man.
And I feel like this is a conversation we could devolve into if we wanted to, but like, where is the point where, maybe even not thematically, but in that moment, where is the point where it was Jeff Johns' fault and where was it Patty Jenkins' fault if it's going to be?
I don't know. I mean, I call Jeff Johns shenanery on the whole thing, honestly.
There's some shenanery, I think, it's still involved. I mean, I think the movie was still credited Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns. Like, I think he still got a rewrite on it.
Patty Jenkins, ampersand Jeff Johns.
Which means he got a rewrite.
Somebody else. Yeah. I think Jeff Johns' stink is all over this movie.
There's going to be some of that. But it's...
I knew it was going to be bad.
As a filmmaker, he's terrible. And he's just an awful person, apparently. But...
From what I understand, yes.
As a writer, like on the page, he's way more.
Usually.
Yeah, usually. Usually is a good word here.
In comic book form, and even in Stargirl, he's good. Like, I don't know what the disconnect here is unless, I don't know. The conspiracy tin hat foil theories are true and he's just trying to, like, tank the DCEU for his own gain, but I don't know where that would lead him, how that would... Yeah, I don't know how that would help him here.
I get that, but there's literally parables about cutting off your nose to spite your face in the Bible. It's been such a human thing for so long that I don't question it when someone's just not looking out for their own interest anymore.
But Jeff Johns is a protege.
Part of the human problem.
Jeff Johns is a protege of Dick Donner, and he grew up with the Donner Superman movies. So maybe that's what he likes his villains to be, is these like just ridiculous, goofy womp villains.
I mean, I get it. And I realize he's made for it, but was Richard Donner not responsible for Scrooged?
I don't know. I'll look it up. But, Scrooged is also a comedy.
Yeah, I know. But it's a morality tale is my point.
Mm-hmm. In a very...
Richard Donner, Scrooged. Yeah, director Richard Donner.
Okay, well.
Only point being, like, he's capable of nuance.
Yeah.
Also, that movie is, like, from the Dickens origins. It's not a movie with a bunch of anti-heroes and stuff. Like, it's clear it's a morality tale. Like, it's the basis of what we understand as the modern morality tale.
And I'm not saying I hate Dick Donner. Don't get that in your head, because I like the Dick Donner films, but they had their time, and that time is not necessarily now.
There was that too. Yeah, I get that.
So I suspected something was afoot when, like, a week before the movie came out, Patty started walking back things. Like, well, I mean, I kind of wanted to be a little longer and wanted this and this, but that ain't all you wanted to be different, was it, Patty?
No, hold on though. Just to go back to the scene we were just talking about, one of the things that I saw and thought, because it's hard not to see a quote like that and wonder about it while you're watching the movie, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things was like that dude in the green jacket with the third pencil mustache on that heist crew in the mall scene. Like the guy who tries to hide and then objects when she pulls it feels like there was another part of that scene with that guy. I know. It's it's an odd thing to have.
I didn't pick up on that. But I did. It did feel like there were a couple of those kinds of scenes in the movie where you're like, what was that person even there?
Well, it just felt like in particular he was like when they got exposed in the whole thing, he was just gonna like chill and hide, and somebody was like, "You can't hide, keep going." And first watch, and I guess I've watched that scene 3 times now, not including the Super Bowl commercials. But first watch of that scene was like when the guy was like, "You can't hide." I would have been so mad about like, bitch, I could have if you hadn't fucking opened your mouth. Shut the fuck up. We have been had. We've been made, man. This is every man for himself. Let's do this. Like, you go do you with your guns and holding the little girl up, and I'm gonna just fucking vanish into the background. Piece of shit. I'll see you later in like 3 weeks on Kite Man's crew or some shit. I was mad for him. That was just bad for him.
Which I hated all that stuff where she's like flinging the little girl and the cheesy like nodding at the girl and the winks and all that stuff. Like, it was just like, ugh, okay.
That part I didn't love. Honestly, I was kind of hoping that was just part of. I literally think that was part of the Super Bowl commercials, and I was kind of hoping it stayed there. Didn't love that part. As Gail Simone pointed out, though, I think it was maybe a nod to one of her characters. Can't remember who, but Star Blossom.
Okay.
I mean, maybe, I don't know.
I don't need that nod, if that's what that was. All right, so I don't buy that someone like Diana, who believes in love, wouldn't move on in 60 years. Like, her freaking apartment's a shrine to Steve Trevor, a guy she knew for like a week.
Yeah, but...
Okay, I get it. First male love, whatever.
Yeah, it's not even that. It's just... All right, so how long's it been since... was it World War I, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's been 50 years since... No, 45 years? Ugh, just failing my like social studies courses now. When was World War I?
I thought it was like in the 1910s. Let's see.
Oh, 14 to 18. Okay.
Either way, it's a long time for her not to move on, man. It just is. It is dumb.
I can kind of get along with it. I mean, I like the idea that she's not. I like the idea that she has standards, and it doesn't like the scene doesn't explicitly say that it's not like she didn't move on or maybe date or something, but that she
all
did
of her
have
boyfriends
a true love. That's fine. You just want her to get back out there.
Well, I didn't quite think that it seemed like a healthy thing for her to have the shrines all over the place. But, if she did have those, it would have been really interesting and way more interesting than what we got to actually see Diana in a relationship with someone who was dealing with constantly feeling like they had to live up to Steve Trevor. And I think that person, personally, based on what we've seen before, should have been Barb.
I mean, I would say, one, you got that, in her relationship with Barb.
I don't think I did. Because there did seem to be a lot of chemistry, a lot of... it felt like attraction between Barb and Diana. There was a spark there. And yeah, Barb is an over-the-top nerd pre-villain, and I hate that trope. We've seen it in Batman Forever. We've seen it in Iron Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like, it happens over and over again in these movies, and I don't understand what people are attracted to in it. But
I don't mind it. But yeah, you did grab all like the trifecta of the most recent versions right there.
And there are more. I just, ugh. Anyway,
it's a trope for sure. I liked this version of it. It's not a trope that I dislike is part of the problem. Like, part of my problem with your problem, I guess.
Well, I mean, for Kristen Stewart's part, it was less cartoony than it could have been.
Kristen Wiig,
that's right. Sorry. You're right. I don't know why I said that. That's weird. Anyway, yeah, she did a good
been
job.
a long day.
It has, in some regards. I was getting serious Barbara Diana vibes. It's not outside of the realm of possibility. Diana's already mentioned how, they're not all just straight and waiting for a man to show up out of nowhere on Themyscira in the first movie.
Yeah.
So I think if we had the character Barb was, but knew who Wonder Woman was, knew who Diana was, and she was in a relationship with her and constantly trying to live up to this idea of Steve Trevor, and then for Diana to accidentally wish that Steve Trevor came back, and the implications that would have for their relationship, and that would actually have given her a serious reason to be a villain. That would have been really interesting to watch.
How does someone entirely bored by that?
How does someone
completely bored by that?
How does someone who already feels like they are subhuman deal with dating a god, essentially? And then to deal with the idea that not only that,
but that's not what I'd be bored by. Her freaking
ex-boyfriend, who she never got over, came back from the dead. Now she has to compete with that.
I don't know. I'd be bored. I wouldn't be interested in this as a love triangle at all.
But you were more interested. You were more interested in her being a jerk to Diana as soon as she starts getting with some gross rich guy.
Oh no! What the gross rich guy aside, what's more interesting to me is the moment she got her own source of power. And by the way, when she wishes, she effectively just wishes she could be as powerful, as cool, as strong.
Yeah, sure.
And then later she gets to double down and say no, I want to be the apex predator. And then she gets to turn into full form cheetah. But before that, she's just this kind of, and they kind of make it a point in the movie to point out when Minerva says it, she got more than she bargained for, or however she phrased it. She didn't realize she was wishing to be an Amazonian, but she really was.
Mm-hmm.
So I was way more on board with the idea that, she's the nerd. She's the underling. I'm just used to this, especially as an 80s trope. I mean, dear God, I mean, we're dealing with there were nerds on the team of the Ghostbusters. This is the era of Revenge of the Nerds, of Piggies, or whatever the fuck that franchise was. That's definitely not the name of that franchise, but whatever that thing is. I'm way more familiar with that as an idea, and I'm okay with it. It's she was a nerd and she finally got some power.
Mm-hmm.
I can deal with that. And, the fact that she got overpowered is more power than she expected. Still, I'm great. That for me is a perfectly good storytelling device. I don't necessarily need that to be a relationship. I'm not saying there's not some shipping that could be done here. For sure. There were some elements, but I don't need it.
Yeah. I just, at the end of the day, I'm sort of they had an opportunity with an openly bisexual superhero, female, and they decided to squander it, throw it away because, rich guy and my dead boyfriend.
No. See, all right. So I didn't take it that way at all. The rich guy part is irrelevant. His role in this movie.
Yeah, he's giving her attention. I get it, but
he's just giving her some attention. And his role in this movie, short of the fact that he absconds with the stone, is for Barbara's purposes. Until she shows up later and saves his ass, he could have just come and gone, and it would have been, she would have forgotten. And with Diana and the dead boyfriend kind of thing, I mean, how do I explain it? I'm not trying to make it a situation where she's supposed to hold out for the guy, but the idea that she ran across kind of a once in her lifetime example of something, that she hasn't really come up with anything that maybe has filled those shoes, is not that ridiculous. She runs across a guy who literally shows up on the shores of Themyscira and fights with her.
Yeah.
When's that going to happen again?
Well, why does it have to happen again?
Also, she's playing it really low key. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to happen again, but the film doesn't rule out that it hasn't happened. Like that there was, there could have been a couple boyfriends here and there, or girlfriends here and there. They don't rule that out explicitly, but they also I don't think they make it as much of a shrine in her apartment as you're describing. I mean, there's memorabilia.
All over the place.
Yeah, there's some pictures. That's about it.
Watches.
It's the one watch that we get a shot of over and over again.
I mean, there's little shit all over the place. Her at Trevor Ranch, like, I mean, maybe it's just that they show it over and over again.
I think it's just that they showed a few things over and over again. There's a couple pictures in the watch. And the picture, by the way, is an homage to a picture she found of him. Like she had a meaningful thing and she developed some time to it. And since then, she just hasn't found anything. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that either.
And here's another funny thing, though, is that when you start to piece it into BVS, it's like 30 years after this movie, even though she's got pictures and stuff all over the place in her apartment, she's still just like searching for that one picture. She's like, I've got to get that one other picture that I remember taking.
I mean, yeah, but also that makes sense. Look, it's a thing I've said many times. Every time you move, like physically move one location to, like every time you move mailing addresses, you lose things. Doesn't matter how carefully you pack. I don't care what system you came up with. I don't care how many like stickers and color coded highlighters you're employing. You're going to lose something. Mm-hmm. And invariably, one of the things you cannot find afterward is something you actually found, sentimentally meaningful. I'm not trying to like come up with the headcanon here, but I'm also like, you telling me just a picture vanishes back in the 40s? And yeah, man, that shit happens everywhere. I've got pictures in my basement right now. They're from some family in the, I think 30s, I want to say.
Yeah. Look, I'm not saying that she couldn't have had a girlfriend.
I don't know them. There were two owners before they got to me. I just thought they were neat, so I kept them for somebody, and they never came back.
I'm not saying that she couldn't have had love interests and stuff. I'm just saying they could have done something in this movie that meant a whole hell of a lot to the LGBT community, and I think that would have been nice. And they've already established it as part of the canon, but they kind of chose to be safe, and that's disappointing.
Sure. I don't disagree that they could have done that. I'm not sure that the decision not to was to be safe. I kind of would like to actually hear if there was any discussion of it. I mean, yeah, there was an option.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you consider that there are people who, couples who, like, one is lesbian, one is bi, and they literally have to deal with the idea of that lost boyfriend coming back, or, you know what I mean? Like, that is a very real story, a very relatable story. And I think it would have played really well here. And Barbara could still get to the same place as far as wishing to be like Diana and getting her powers and slowly becoming Cheetah. It would have meant more to me. Like, I didn't need it to be like, well, now we each got our guy and now we're going to slowly become enemies. It's just silly and weird, and it felt strange.
Well, I'm torn. Like, on the one hand, yes, and that would have been meaningful and I would have applauded it. On the other hand, they don't necessarily have to have had anything happen. And I don't feel like I feel like you're leaning on the men in their lives affecting them way more than it actually did in certain ways.
I don't think so. I know that's because that's one of my issues. I think it
Steve
did.
Trevor for sure did affect her largely. Like that was huge. That was huge. Like, she still talks about him later as like, no, I was in love once and blah, blah, blah. I get that. I agree with you. But I'm not sure that like Max walking in and having like a hot second with Barbara is as meaningful as you're making it out to be.
She saved the guy at the end. She saved the guy at the end, and then
but mostly as a display of her power. Like,
fought Diana at his like compound after he turned her into a giant cat.
Yeah, but again, it was about her relationship with Diana.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think I'm
like,
saying the movie's a mess, dude. Like, that's the point.
I think for her, by the end of that story, he is irrelevant, except that he became this wish granter, this fucking monkey's paw in human form.
Yeah. Which, by the way, thanks for throwing in his backstory at the very end of the film. Really made me give a shit.
Wait, which part?
When he's like granting all the wishes and Diana's having her like cheesy Supergirl season 1 finale moment, and that I absolutely hated. And he starts having
there was a hope speech here, and I could, on my first viewing, there was a hope speech here, and I could already hear you hating it, even though you hadn't seen the movie yet.
And as she's doing all that bullshit, he's like having flashbacks to his like dad beating his mom and his dad being a dick to him and all this stuff that we could have used like earlier on in the movie.
Okay, what would that have helped? You would have, if they had shown you that earlier in the movie, you would have thought that she could just go talk to him and sort this shit out.
Oh, man, no, not necessarily. Like, I never thought that, like, okay, let me say this. By the end of this movie, at the beginning of this movie, I thought maybe there was a possibility that they're going to do something to be like, oh, yes, this could work with what Zack did in Man of Steel. They're going to have her break Max Lord's neck because they even sort of like played with it, talking about like, you either have to destroy the stone or you have to get everyone to renounce their wishes. And I'm like, dude, everybody in the world is not going to renounce their wish. That's silly. Except that's what they did, and it was silly. I'm like, she's going to have to destroy the stone, and she's going to have to do it by breaking his neck.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was like there, I was just like, they know what we expect to happen because we've read the comics.
No, they don't.
And
they're not
she's
interested in
like, I mean, it's Jeff Johns. He knows we know.
that. I know he knows.
And we see her like throwing the lasso at him, and it's not quite making it every time. And I just keep expecting like, well, I didn't expect it. That was the problem. But there's one problem. But by the end of it, I knew they weren't going to have the balls to do what they had been kind of hinting at. They weren't going to have her.
I don't think they were hinting at it. I think you were expecting it.
They would red herring. Herringing. I can't say that.
Red herring.
You can't say it either.
It's important to properly dispose of unwanted medication or sharps. MedProject offers free and convenient disposal options near you. To learn more, call 844-MED-PROJECT or visit medproject.org.
Well, did you know that 1 in 4 kids in Los Angeles County struggles with hunger? Eating healthy, balanced meals is essential for kids to learn and grow. That's why Anthem Blue Cross and Common Threads have teamed up to help schools across the country learn about healthier food preparation. Here in Los Angeles, they're joined by the LA Sparks and will provide education, recipes, and knowledge to students and families about healthier meal options. Visit anthem.com/ca/sparks to learn more. Anthem Blue Cross is the trade name of Blue Cross of California.
I wasn't
I get what you're
expecting it.
saying.
That was the problem.
I understand that was your expectation, but I think that was your expectation. I don't think that it was even necessarily like a sidestep. Like
you don't put Wonder Woman and Maxwell Lord into a movie without at least
Here's the
implying
thing.
it.
You also necessarily do not put, and hear me out here, Maxwell Lord and Wonder Woman in a movie. I guess it's 7. It should have been 6 years later, after you famously got in trouble for having Superman snap Zod's neck.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do that.
Again, that's another reason I didn't think they were going to. But I thought there might at least be a possibility that they were going to be so bold.
No,
but I knew pretty early that no.
Part of the backlash. And, as much as I loved the scene and would defend it to my dying breath, it's not necessarily the only choice that could have been made. Like, other things could have been done, sure. And I'm not saying they're better or worse. I'm just saying other choices could have been made. So going into this movie, in the history of the movies that you're already in, of course not. No fucking way. Like, yes, it occurred to us, what is it, like 3 years now, when Maxwell Lord was cast as one of the people in Wonder Woman? And we already knew, no, there's no way. There's no way he's actually going to get his neck snapped. There's no fucking way.
New era of Warner Brothers. I thought there might be a way. But,
that would have been a fine thought in like 2013.
Within 10, 20 minutes, I knew it wasn't going to happen, is what I'm saying. Because this movie right out of the gate is balls. It was just not there, or ballless, I should say. Like, it has no spine. You're doing Dick Donner. That's what you're doing. That's all you're doing. Evenly lit 1970s superhero pop. That's what you're doing.
Hold on. Hearing you say evenly lit cracks me up.
Why?
After all the shit you gave Man of Steel for being colorless.
No, colorless. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Colorless. I didn't complain that Man of Steel was not. I didn't say, hey, Man of Steel's not lit like a freaking TV show from the 1980s like Wonder Woman 1984 is. That shit looks like it could be an episode of Quantum Leap.
No,
you're right. Quantum Leap actually had some really good cinematography.
It did. I'm not going to disparage or or acclaim Quantum Leap unnecessarily at this juncture.
This looked like it was made in the worst possible ways in the 80s. And then when you look at the CGI, it looks like it was like early aughts. Like,
No.
oh my God. Like when Cheetah like walks out on on that ledge about to face off against Wonder Woman, I was like, are we back in like Sam Raimi's first Spider-Man movie? This is
Yeah, I'll give you that part.
this is bad. And
Yeah.
anyway.
I'll give you that. Then she like crushes 4, telephone poles and it all looks pretty good.
Nah, I didn't think any of it really looked very good. I don't think any of her as Cheetah looked good. We all knew where she was going, but I'm like, oh, this is why they waited to reveal it, because it looked like trash. There's no way we didn't know where it was going. Like, they held off for a reason. They're like, we're saving it. No, you're not. As much as I hate to leading up to a film, I don't want to be that guy who's like, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. But I was really hoping that they really did just think, oh, we're holding it back because it's so awesome. But as soon as I saw her, I was like, oh yeah, no, you knew. And now
I just
even the
did not think
pushbacks,
that looked bad necessarily. Like, what part looked bad?
it didn't look bad for like DC Universe Titans. Like if that had happened on Titans, I would have been like, yeah, it looked fine. If it had happened on Stargirl, I would have been like, oh, that looks fine.
Hold on though, that's a bad example. Like some of the stuff that's happened on Titans is movie worthy, and you and I constantly talk about how like movie worthy isn't a thing that like it should not be on the pedestal that it is.
Yeah, but we're dealing with a budget of $4 million versus a budget of $200 million.
Hold on, a budget of $4 million per episode over the course of the entire season is more like a budget of $20 million. If it just concerns one costume, getting it right, something you're going to use over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
When we're talking about using, what was Wonder Woman's budget?
$200 million.
If you're going to use all of that to get all the special effects right, that's fine. But you're only going to use literally the same amount to get her effects right.
I'm just saying,
different.
generally TV effects don't look better or the same as a major motion picture effect. It just
generally,
doesn't.
but we've lampooned it for not having the same standards. And in the instances where people say that TV looked this way and movie didn't, it's because there are, considerable circumstances between those things.
I mean, it looked bad to me.
I don't think it looked that bad.
That's fine.
I mean, it wasn't colorful, but that's really all I have to offer as far as like, well, all right, two things. One, it wasn't that colorful, and they could have done a little more makeup on her face. I mean, it felt like the cheetah, part was creeping up on it. To give you a problem I had with the same scene, there's been how much marketing about like the golden armor and the wings, and Cheetah just rips through that shit in like 5 seconds.
Yeah, that was lame.
It wasn't lame necessarily.
I've got it right here. That's lame.
Nope, I've got that marked down.
Like the thing that the
I feel like you literally wrote down that was lame.
Yeah, the lasso showed him the truth, showed him that like the entire world could not rip through that friggin' armor, and Cheetah rips through it in like 5 seconds.
Okay, I thought about this on the second viewing. Hear me out. I agree. I'm coming from the same spot, but hear me out. A little bit of headcanon here, maybe, but not much. Really not
My
much.
favorite.
That looked like the world of man. Like, I mean, yeah, that could hold back an entire army of people that were basically in the film 300.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. But to hold back one person whose first wish was to be as powerful as Wonder Woman, and second wish was to be an apex predator beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
I realize we're dealing with magic here, but again, it's a film called Wonder Woman, and it's already magic.
All right.
Like, she's already just the gift of so many Greek gods that they're uncountable, and the only exception was Ares, So in that capacity,
I get how you can headcanon it. It was just lame. It was a poor storytelling
I don't necessarily think
example.
it was poor story.
Like, it was bad.
Like on second viewing, I just kind of saw it and thought, okay, all right, yeah. You did build it up, and the only problem I had was the marketing of it, of just every shot you saw of her had those golden wings in there, and then they just get ripped apart so quickly. Mm-hmm. I don't have a problem in story with how quickly and for the reasons they got ripped apart, but some part of me wants to agree though, is like there's a part of me that's like, yeah, but the marketing people just thought it was a really cool shot. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
It was.
And that's
a really
the thing.
cool
like,
shot.
and it doesn't make. Okay,
like, yeah,
so
she looks great with the fucking wings. I get it.
So BVS Justice League, we've seen that she doesn't fly. She doesn't fly. Okay. In this movie, she doesn't fly. She learns to fly, but she learns to fly before she gets the suit with the giant wings, which is the reason I thought she was going to be flying. And
With
every
the
other
wings.
shot and every other shot in the marketing,
Okay,
she's
all right,
swinging
all right,
from
hold
lightning
on,
bolts.
hold
She's
on.
swinging from shit.
I get it. One objection. I don't think at any point in this, in Wonder Woman 1, in BVS, in Justice League 2017, I don't think at any point she actually flies.
No.
She falls with style.
Uh-huh.
She literally just flies in the sense that she just manages to find a way down where she's adjusting with the the winds.
Uh-huh.
Literally, as Steve Trevor describes it, you just kind of, I forget how he puts it, but yeah, you just kind of like, it feels natural after a while. You find an instinctive way to just, hang out there. I hate heights. I have no, I wish I had some anecdote about paragliding or something. I don't. Best case scenario is, for me, in those little, like, the things out in water parks, those like tidal waves,
Mm-hmm.
where you go around the perimeter and the little, you just basically camp out with a tube for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, me learning to be as chill as possible and use as few muscles as possible for a series of hours around those things is about as close as I can come. But I don't think she flies at any point.
Oh, really?
No, even
When she's like flipping in the air and like turning on her back and doing like backstrokes and shit as she's like flying completely vertical. Okay, cool. Okay.
you say that like there's not
She's
such a thing as
literally
like
doing,
vertical
like,
push
she's
or, dude,
She's
I've seen,
literally doing like the Superman double fist out and then like turning to her side and like pivoting in midair. Like she's
I know.
flying.
I saw that.
She's doing the Dick Donner Superman. Like,
Yeah, I think they're kind of hedging their bets a little bit there. But they're also making it seem like it was just a leaf on the wind kind of thing.
yeah.
Like the same way you've literally seen a trash bag, run 50 feet up in the air for no good reason. Because just, the wind happened to hit right and blah, 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 blah. Stupid example, I know.
Mm-hmm.
But my problem isn't necessarily that she can't fly later. It's that she doesn't necessarily fly now altogether. In certain ways, you could say that she flew in the last few moments of the first Wonder Woman film as much or more as she does at any point in this film.
Yeah, she levitated. So great with God powers as she was. Yeah.
Right?
Well, not to beat a dead horse on the flight situation, shall we talk about how neither Diana nor Steve actually give a damn about whoever it was Steve erased?
Oh, they do.
Oh, they don't.
No, they
Like-
do.
Everything appears and disappears like magic in this movie, except he has to inhabit some random dude.
He inhabits a random dude, and then when he drinks 3 pots of coffee and eats nothing but Pop-Tarts the entire morning, which, by the way, is a lovely performance of someone who looks like they're over-caffeinated and over-sugared on Chris Pine's part.
Mm-hmm. He did a great job. But
His
you know what-
eyes even look small. But even then, he's like, "We should stay here forever. This is the greatest room I've ever been in." Like, and then she says, "Yeah, that sounds great. Except I should probably figure out how I made a wish and my old dead boyfriend took over a person's body."
Yeah, she does mention that. She doesn't show any concern for the person whose body they just took over. In the height of the AIDS epidemic, neither do they wonder about, hey, this is a good idea. Let's just use this dude's body to bone. By the way, that's rape. There is no way there's no way that's ethical. Like, I'm just sitting there the whole time thinking, like, what say does this dude have in what they're doing to his body? That is not cool. I mean, I'm glad you think it's funny. I don't think it's funny. I think it's weird and kind of. I think it's worse than the snap neck dilemma from Man of Steel. Like, is this the message we're doing now? Okay.
No. You're not wrong. There's a consent message here.
I mean, are we just to assume that they were just like, well, of course he would sleep with Diana? Because we had to introduce this guy so that when Steve inevitably leaves at the end of this movie, this guy shows up in the last frames and just goes like, oh, hey, how you doing? See you around.
Okay, well, all right. There are 2 things that occurred to me here.
They don't even say we should find out who this guy was. Or maybe he'd like his
we've
life
seen
back.
him 100 times before. I looked his IMDb up because I knew I'd seen his face before. And his first role was an Angel.
I mean, that's fine, but I'm saying in
He was in
universe, the
Backstrom
characters at
some
no
like,
point,
we've seen him. But
because she was even like, you would need a passport. Why? Shouldn't this guy have a passport? Whoever this person was you replaced?
they don't have it. They're already out. Anyway,
Yeah.
Two things occurred to me. One is, given the last scene where he has no recollection,
Mm-hmm.
it would seem to me there is some supernatural exit door here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm making up a supernatural exit door here for sure. Like I'm imagining some, back burner of consciousness where he's not part of his own body anymore, and all these things that would be, like a perfectly good subplot of, frankly, anything that's going on right now. Any version where he's kind of questioning, like, hey, I'm still here. What made me laugh was that this sounds like such a Zeus fucking move.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's not right. Yes, it's morally dubious, but would Zeus do it? Oh, for fuck's yes.
Yeah. Guess the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
In a way.
Diana runs around saving everybody until what she wants is right there in front of her. But you gotta rape a guy to get it. Okay. I mean, I guess we're just to assume that, of course, he would have sex with her. The consent is implied
you're
because
making
it's
certain
Gal
assumptions
Gadot.
about the idea of duality that are not necessarily represented one way or the other. I mean, the mind-body problem is a very different thing. It is clear to me that the mind and body were separated given the last scene of the film, the Christmas scene.
Yeah, but it's still someone else's body.
Yeah, and most dualists, true dualists, would argue that the fact that it's a body, corporeal, and soul, incorporeal, are absolutely disconnected, barring any consequences.
What about the consequence of where that other guy's soul and or mind went?
Not displayed in this film.
They did not care. She just cared that her wish was granted and that he was there.
No, the one thing you could glean from that, from the scene, is that he did not care.
Neither one of them did.
I fully grant that she didn't. And all of these arguments aside, apparently there was that problem. But you could argue that he did not care either.
And there was no reason for the guy to even exist in the first place. Steve Trevor could have appeared out of nowhere like that freaking wall did around that stereotypical Middle Eastern country.
I agree.
Full of all those
you could argue that
stereotypes.
That is as magical as the problem you're talking about.
Yeah, but there was just no reason to have this guy there except to have him show up at the end as maybe she could love again. Which, by the way, Barbara's still there, wish renounced and all, totally redeemed, right there, just waiting.
Oh,
just
that's
sitting.
actually one of our problems is that we don't really get to see a later Barbara scene.
No, we don't.
I mean, we get to see that she renounced her wish, but we don't even really get to see her renounce her wish.
No, they pulled that from us.
All right. So bottom line, all the consent issues and magical and even the Zeus lineology involved, like I would argue that the problem is as philosophical and esoteric and magical as the solution in this case.
Poorly devised, poorly executed.
No. When you have magic at your back, you don't have to necessarily elucidate certain things.
Mm-hmm. That's cheap, and you know it. You and I have given shows shit for less.
I have also not bothered with certain problems that were similar.
I don't know about that.
I get it. I mean, next comic I'm reading is Justice League Dark.
Okay. What does that mean?
I'm just saying, like, I'm aware of the magic part of the whole thing. I'm just saying sometimes it's
magic shouldn't just be like, ooh, magic. No, there need to be rules within a universe. There need to be rules within a movie, and the director or the storytellers need to stick to those rules. But they, once again, have decided to err on the side of, we'll make the rules vague and then kind of not go by those rules. And also, here are some really morally dubious things that the characters are going to do, but this is a feel-good movie, so we're going to ignore that.
I feel like
I think it's lazy as shit.
No, I feel like you're also coming up with a lot of rules to surround the lack of rules, where you're...
I mean, I'm not coming up with rules.
No, you're instantiating rules that maybe didn't necessarily apply and coming up with like a set of rules as a result and consequences as a result that aren't necessarily like actually effectuated by the movie.
You really want to like this, don't you?
It's not that. I mean, I could give a shit in a certain way, but I just, I also don't want to judge it by, I do. I feel like so far you're kind of giving it some consequences that, and specifically you've asked a couple times for rules when, over exposition of those rules would have a problem. And in fact, like shortcuts to certain things are something you put on the viewer, is something you understand as a smart viewer will understand and accept. I feel like you just wanted a different movie.
I mean, if the movie in of itself is supposed to be like a meta cautionary tale about how shortcuts shouldn't be made, then I guess I applaud them for that, because this movie looks like a whole lot of shortcuts were made.
I mean, I feel like thematically the point was that you can't take shortcuts.
Yes.
But then I feel like you're insisting on a set of rules while calling them out for not insisting on a set of rules.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. I mean, if you just want to like play in circular logic all day, we can do that.
I agree. That's
fine.
a problem, but I feel like that's a little bit of what you're doing. Like, it feels like you've set up a certain set of rules for how you feel like these characters should have acted. And you're not necessarily...
Well, no, I don't think Wonder Woman should have raped a guy.
I don't feel like that's what's happened.
I think that is absolutely what happened. Absolutely 100%. Steve Trevor, without consent, but which, by the way, even Swayze got consent from Whoopi Goldberg in Ghost. Without consent, Steve Trevor and Diana completely raped this dude. And he was only there to be like, oh, well, she's going to have her little straight fling or moving on moment at the end of this film.
I'm going to make a bold claim here. I'm going to make a bold claim.
Mm-hmm.
In the event that anyone thinks that they have been raped by a ghost or became a ghost while their body was raped, I've got your back. I don't feel like that's what's happened here.
So it's okay for this dude's body just to be used however they see fit because magic.
In the event that it's literally magic, yes.
Yeah, I don't buy it.
Okay. So by the end of the film, there's literally just like an impromptu Great Wall of China. The nuclear supply doubles, triples, I think 10 times, as I think what they said.
Yeah, something like that.
One dude has a goat farm or a farm in general, just in the middle of a DC grassy knoll kind of situation. This one girl starts to become more physically acclimated and eventually just becomes a cheetah.
Yeah.
I just don't know where you want me to draw the line here on where magic takes place.
Oh, no, it's fine that, it doesn't make sense that he would need a host in the first place because of magic, because all these other things magically appear. I'm saying it is ethically problematic for our two heroes to not consider the implications of what they're doing to someone else's body. Someone who has no consent, who has no way of deciding whether or not his body should be used in this manner. Well, they should not be doing this.
I mean, in a way, I agree.
Period.
In another way, I think
that's not magic. That's just ethics. That's just being good people.
There's
being
not
bad
such
people.
a thing as just ethics. Unfortunately, you have to consider weird stuff like magic. So, on the one hand,
but the magic isn't the problem. The magic is the problem is the fact that they're just like ignoring this guy's consent.
Okay, so the magic principle here implies that his consent was no longer valuable to this conversation. Now, granted, if we were in a world where, like our own, that is a manufactured entity, then I would fight for you tooth and nail. In Magic World, it's just not a thing anymore. Also, Diana specifically considers him, specifically wonders what she
wonders how he got into some random dude's body,
and then goes through a lot of effort and trouble to correct this, and then eventually leaves having realized that she was sacrificing something for another and decides to abandon that problem.
She doesn't decide she's sacrificing another person for Steve Trevor. She decides I'm sacrificing my powers for Steve Trevor. The world needs my powers. So it kind of takes some of the weight off of that.
No, you're assuming there should be weight on that. And again, if this was a real world situation where this was any version of someone not being conscious or subjective or aware or just in any capacity available corporeally for a rape situation, I would completely agree. We're literally not talking about that.
We're not going to agree, so we should probably just move on.
That's fine with me.
All right, so I thought it was kind of a cheap shot to use a beautiful lie to add weight to the Supergirl season 1 finale thing. I had nothing for it. It was aggravating. I just didn't like it. I didn't like Pedro in this movie. He was overacting, man. He was doing he was chewing some scenery, buddy.
He was one of my favorite parts.
Well, I'm glad for you.
I have so many memories of 80s infomercials
Yeah, I have the same memories.
or memories from, not the 80s when I saw like the 700 Club or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
or QVC or something. Just hucksters. I feel like this was a really good impression of a huckster.
Yeah, where have we seen that before? Oh, Dick Donner's Lex Luthor.
Yeah, you've never
Okay.
seen a huckster before?
Yeah, I was being sarcastic.
I know. That's I get where you were going before you answered the question. I understand. I'm just saying, I appreciate the idea of a huckster, especially in this capacity. And
But then they try to redeem him, like freaking Sandman and Spider-Man 3. Like, well, he was a kid, so everything he did was okay. No.
no, it's not that it's actually one of my problems. I'm with you on this. It's not that everything he did was okay. It's the redemptive arc was not like, I mean, he did some terrible things. He should be held accountable. And it's something
Yeah.
that I don't
Somebody
think
should snap his neck with a lasso.
That would be the worst possible thing that could happen.
No, I don't think so.
No, I mean, arguably that was out of character when it fucking happened to begin with.
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah.
Like, that was not necessarily one of the best beats of comics to begin with. So to
No,
hold
no.
it accountable
I
for
agree.
this and Maxwell
I
Lord
agree.
and Wonder Woman is ridiculous.
I was joking, man.
I know.
Jesus.
Just saying. I'm not sure he was held accountable outright. I'm just saying that to me, the emotional beat was that his kid actually had his kid was the emotional high ground.
Mm-hmm.
I can jive with that.
I mean,
Like,
I
he's not
get it.
forgiven
I've
even
seen
by
Liar,
Wonder Woman.
Liar.
He's just forgiven by his own child in his own eyes, and that's kind of nice.
Yeah. I mean, they from the minute, like at the end of the movie, when they start playing up how he was beaten as a kid, it's like, now we need the audience to like him. And whether or not we actually show him not getting in trouble at the end of the movie, that's, them trying to suddenly make him out to be a better person than he was the entire movie.
Okay, but
And,
you could rephrase that as saying that,
it's
like,
cheap.
turns out he had a really good backstory that explains some of his actions,
Yeah.
and that would be valid.
We could have seen that earlier in the film.
I think if you had seen it early in the film, like I said before, you would have discredited it, and it would not have been as much.
Yeah, maybe. Either way, it was just sloppily thrown in, and I didn't like it.
I don't think it was sloppily thrown in. I think it's where it was supposed to be.
Okay. Agree to disagree. Once again.
We are not going to agree on this movie for the large part.
No, we're not.
It'll be all right.
I didn't see any reason for it to be set in 1984. I don't know why it was set in 1984. Except maybe it was a nostalgia. Maybe they were just trying to cash in on nostalgia. Maybe.
I genuinely, I have no idea. From pre-production to today, I have no idea why that was the decision.
I mean, Patty and Jeff Johns were probably at their peak getting into comics age in 1984. Maybe that had something to do with it, but I couldn't find any real reason for it except to just be like, haha, look, there are people with mullets and mustaches and look at their curly perms and
How was Fanny Pack not the first thing you mentioned?
because I tried to block it out so much.
Yeah, I have no idea, man. I don't know what the inspiration for that was, and I hope it was inspiring, but I just genuinely don't know.
I don't get the reason for introducing that homeless guy that Barbara's nice to, except he had no bearing on the plot except to stop her from killing that dude who was apparently a vicious rapist anyway.
No, that was his entire bearing on the plot was specifically to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it
He
just
was on screen for like 20 seconds max.
it just stopped her from being irredeemable. Because at the end of this
What
movie,
part
we're
of
meant to
this do I
believe
need
that
to
she's
explain?
redeemed.
You just explained it to yourself.
I don't know. It was just so.
He was there to make her redeemable, and then later to make her stop herself from being irredeemable.
Mm-hmm. But why? We never saw her again. What does it matter if she's redeemable or not? We're never
Barbara-
going to see her again.
That's one of the things where you have to. Well, two things. One, Kristen Wiig did a really good job of being endearing in the role. Like, I just think as an actress, you kind of do want to root for her a little bit. Like, I was mad later when we didn't kind of get to see where her character was going. Like, that would have been a really impressive, or really fun. I mean, God, that should have been maybe in the last few minutes, or a stinger or something. I mean, for all I know, she's human, and she just died on a hillside a week later after not being able to find like a village or food or water. Like, what the fuck do we know about her at this point?
Yeah.
I mean, that being said, that guy, like, the only problem I had with that guy was that he's just like casually chilling on a bench with reading glasses, reading a book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that's impossible. I've just never actually run across that myself.
Me either. Well, he has to be the lovable homeless guy.
I think he could have been any version and possibly a more accurate description, and it would have served the same purpose. Because his only purpose was that, yeah, you're right. He was the backstop. He was the point where she was supposed to stop herself just because someone was there to call her on it. And I'm fine with that function. Like, that function has to be there for her character.
I think I'm fine with it as long as I don't predict that that's what's going to happen right when I see him.
I mean, the predictability of it is its own problem in a way, but the function of it is fine.
Yeah.
I can roll with you on the predictability part.
I kind of feel a little weird. I don't know why we had to have Max be an oil guy, except to go like, see, oil, bad guy.
It was the
And
80s.
also, I know, and that's the only reason we did the 80s is so we could see oil, bad guy.
I'm not sure if chicken or egg was there.
Then
Not sure.
all of that is there to enforce the Middle Eastern stereotypes. Like, oh, let's show a bunch of, Middle Eastern guys hanging out behind like war-torn huts and crumbling brick walls, wishing for nuclear warheads. Like, I don't know, man. It just felt so weird and off to me.
I mean,
Like,
that part was real in a way. Like, there was a lot of the Cold War spilling over and just a lot of people trying to factionize. And I get that.
mhm. Yeah.
But one of the things the film could have done differently is like, why were we in the 80s? And if we're in the 80s, oil makes a lot of sense. But we could have been somewhere else and oil wouldn't have made as much sense. I mean,
Yeah.
this film could have taken place in the early 90s and been in Silicon Valley, and it would have made just as much sense in certain
Yeah,
ways.
I mean, I'm just saying it wasn't really about oil in the first place. There wasn't like any like great ethical dilemma about oil. They weren't making any kind of like statement about the dangers of oil, or it was just all about like, this guy wants power. This guy wants control.
well, in a way,
This
that's
guy
a good
becomes
thing.
a magic rock. In a way, it is a good thing. It's just like, it was just like the red flag in the guy's back pocket to mark him as the bad guy. And it was lazy. It felt lazy. To me.
I think a lot of it boiled down to when people got the chance, they made.
Or maybe it was just that I grew up in the 80s and I'm used to that trope of like every bad guy had to be an oil baron.
That was a real
Maybe
thing.
They were going for, maybe that's just what they were going for in this movie, is just be like, yeah, see, he's going to be the stereotypical bad guy, but he's got a sweet little kid, so he's not, and he's going to be okay by the end of the movie. All right, buddy.
No, I mean, yeah, just given the hours of things we've consumed, like there's a little bit of Supergirl, a little bit of Lucifer happening here.
Mm-hmm.
Like a little bit of a hope speech, Supergirl kind of thing, a little bit of a what do you desire, Lucifer kind of thing.
Yeah.
We've consumed so much of those two ideas that's kind of what came to mind me watching.
Oh my gosh. And when she was talking about how
You got to give him credit though for like trying to get people to wish things he wanted to wish for. That was pretty cool.
the Lucifer aspect of this,
Mhm.
where he was saying, what is it you desire? What is it you wish? When she talks about briefly how that stone comes from the god of lies,
Mm-hmm.
I thought of Lucifer, and I was just like, oh, what if Lucifer is like, or some Greek variation of therein is inhabiting this dude, and we're getting like, no, they're not gonna do that.
No, or because it's a
Because it would have been
DC
more interesting.
No, if it's a DC film, we're gonna do like a landscape thing. We're gonna do a pan shot
Mm-hmm.
in a 360 kind of thing. And what is it? It's sand in one film. I think it's just like deep, Kryptonian technology in another. Like we always do this shot where we're just going through the history of things.
Yeah.
And I feel like if they had done that shot right then, it really should have just been not Tom Ellis, but the Lucifer with his, real face on.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have made a shit ton of sense at the moment.
Yeah.
Or at least Ares.
Yeah.
Just at
This
least
is-
Ares.
Yeah. Here's an old complaint that we've had forever.
Uh-huh.
Why would you just throw in Simon Stagg just to kill him? I know they keep doing that, but I'm like, dude, we could have had Metamorpho at some point. Like, why do you keep just bringing in people we know to kill him? Or to, not even to kill him, just to like throw him under the bus for a second. Like,
Oh, he just
they
got
didn't,
arrested.
they didn't kill him. He just got arrested. Yeah. I don't know why I thought
And
he
only
got killed for a
theoretically
second,
arrested.
but-
He might have just gotten so sidetracked by, legal implications that he was just, quote, magically out of my way, I think.
I mean, except they did kill him in a way, because they set him as an old man in the early 80s. So there's no way in any like modern set DCEU he's going to be making Metamorpho. So
Oh, no. here, hold on. Here's my favorite version. He does all that. The complications from the FBI cause him a lot of emotional turmoil. He ends up taking a lot of cocaine. Because it's the 80s. He has a stroke / embolism. Ends up in a wheelchair, has to devote himself to scientific purposes, and ends up with a metamorpho.
Well, he's not Metamorpho.
No, he ends up making one.
Oh.
Yeah.
We'll never go back to it.
It's
They
not
threw it in
perfect.
there.
Just
They
saying.
just threw it in there
It's out there.
to be like, hey, fans, here's the name you know.
No, it's literally just so the word stag is on a
Mhm.
backdrop somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Look, though, I don't know why that's a why is it criticism? Like,
Because there's no point to it.
Fan services. Sometimes,
That's not fan service. That's a name. That's not fan
but
service.
it's a name you know.
It's a name I know.
Yeah, and why would you not? Why would you not be happy to see that name?
Because I know they're not doing anything with it.
Mm.
They're
So-
throwing it in there because they think that it's going to just make me happy just because it was named.
Hold on. You're actually mad at them because they threw in a thing that would make you happy.
No. It's placating. They're placating the fans.
I know, but that's my point. The placation, and
They're not actually setting anything up is my problem.
I get
It's
that.
like, there's no point to do it if you're not setting anything up. You're just like, because I swear to
No,
God.
you can't set
People
up
are out there going,
everything.
they're setting up something with Simon Stagg. No, they're not.
No, they're not. That's and
And there's people out there that's going to be mad that Simon Stagg is not a thing now. That
yeah,
they're not
but
doing
I don't want to go so far into that I'm like mad that they're gonna throw in Simon Stagg's name. Like, I'm still mad there is not a Ted Cord in the CW.
Mm-hmm.
Because how many fucking boxes did I see Cord
Exactly.
Industries on the side of?
I feel the same way.
But I saw that on the side of so many boxes. And turns out, looking back, there's a reason I felt a little, side chinked. It was because they tried, they thought about it, and they ended up with Ray Palmer instead.
Mm-hmm.
Like, historically, there was a reason I felt a little betrayed. I get that. You can't necessarily be betrayed, though, just because they said a thing, because there's not going to be some later revelation just because the thing was ever said. Like, yeah, sometimes it's just okay to say a thing and do a little fan nod and call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it feels like, I am this filmmaker. I have decided we're not going to use him in any future endeavor in this universe. So let's just throw him away here in the early 80s as an old man rather than ever wonder about doing something with him later on. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's weird and it feels
Yeah, but
disingenuous.
it's not disingenuous in the sense that you can't think that every time you drop any name, any theme, or any ability, frankly, that you're going to be starting a franchise. Like, you can't think that that's where this is going. So as a filmmaker, sometimes I think you just kind of maybe throw that out there and try to do a little fan service, and it's okay too.
I don't think Patty knows who Simon Stagg is. I think that was a Jeff Johns throw in, honestly.
I think she's probably at least done the basic research on who the fuck Simon Stagg is.
Yeah, I don't know. All right,
I
so
feel like that's speculation on your part.
yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. But I didn't like this movie.
I get that.
Yeah,
I'm getting that.
I did not like it.
I mean, we've only been talking for an hour and a half, but I'm starting to feel like that's maybe the case.
I'm pretty much, I think, at the end of my rant. I think this is the worst DCEU movie that's happened. Honestly, I think it's the sloppiest, the laziest, the most morally bankrupt. I think it's bad, like straight up bad. And hopefully this is the last we get from Jeff Johns. And Patty's little like threats about not coming back. Hell, let her go. I don't need another Patty Wonder Woman at this point. Like, let them both go. I'm good. I'm absolutely good with that.
Well, juxtaposition wise, I feel like you're holding this film accountable in certain ways that aren't necessarily like inherent to they aren't intrinsically problematic, but subjective as that is, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you like the movie, good for you. I'm glad for you. More power to you. I'm proud for you.
I have problems, but I don't feel like we've even addressed those.
Oh, well, what have you got? What are your problems?
We also haven't addressed the things I liked.
All right, let's go into it.
Overall, look, the film had a lot of heart, and that's not a bad thing. It also actually continued the character in a way that was an upgrade from the first Wonder Woman film. I think we could have a lot of discussion about the power set as it, evolves into like BVS or Justice League. And I think that's where I would start really having problems myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like the film as it exists. One of the things that's kind of nice about it is we go from this, think about these like breathtakingly like large scenes or felt large scenes that happen in Wonder Woman. And honestly, like this film feels like it could have taken place on a very small set.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like there was no man's land kind of scene. Like even the green screen of that involves like a big room. I don't feel like that's what we're dealing with. It was kind of nice to see the shift of how they were going to make this film versus the previous. And I was kind of curious about it. I would have been curious about the numbers had it been released in a more traditional format.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would have just been curious about how it fared,
Yeah.
But I did enjoy it. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed Maxwell's. I really actually enjoyed Maxwell's redemption arc. I thought there was something to be said there. Like, dude, he should absolutely be held accountable for what he did. But there's a part of me that just appreciates the fact that he has this moment with his son where he kind of comes around. Like, it doesn't redeem him, but it makes him feel relatable in a way that gave me a lot of feels.
Mm-hmm.
Moment to moment, some of the action scenes were really incredible. Some of them were not. I mean, I didn't love the mall scene, but I did really love most of the the car jacking scene in Egypt.
Yes, that was good up until the point. There's this weird point where like Steve like rams into a truck and then like breaks his own windshield and then crawls out and jumps up on the car. And then suddenly like they're still in motion, like high speed going down the internet. And it just like, I was like confused. I was like, did they stop for just a second? And then all of a sudden, as soon as he like grabbed onto the tank, they're going really fast again, or the truck, were they going really fast? Like, what happened there? It was weird to me because I
rewatched that a couple times just because I was curious too. And best I could tell is like he kind of barrels in so fast that he bounces out and rolls with the momentum. But that's just a guess. I mean,
yeah, it was weird, man.
Like every big scene like that has some moment where there's going to be like what are those trailers that go through the action scenes?
I don't know.
It's the one who had Die Hard dying like 24 times.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I think Screen Junkies does some variation of it, but okay. I don't know.
Yeah. So like there's going to be a version of this. There's going to be a version of the scene that's just absolutely intolerable, but mostly I found it palatable and really enjoyed it. That and I mean, shit, like the later scene when she finally kind of realizes she has to renounce her gift. I genuinely enjoyed watching Wonder Woman get straight up get beaten up, but I did walk away with two feelings on that particular aspect, and you'll probably fill me on this. Like, on the one side, I enjoy watching a character get taken out of brass tacks. Always do. It's the reason I still think Man of Steel is a good Superman movie. Is like seeing the worst of something, or not even the worst, but just the I don't know, not the most powerful version of a character. Every scene isn't necessarily the most interesting thing. But I've also gotten onto the Flash last season for just depowering like every motherfucker there.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you do in the second movie. You just depower the
yeah,
the hero.
Like that part was one of my problems. It's like, oh, fucking goddamn, the same trope about, oh, you just can't get, like, it's Wonder Woman. You're literally giving her some powers that aren't even, like, they're tangentially probably related, but I've never seen her just be able to make things invisible that way.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
There's better fans than us that may know where that is like a precedented event, but I don't know.
I guess that there's something to be said about like, oh, my father made Themyscira invisible, so I should be able to make this invisible.
Oh, it's plausible.
It's plausible within the realm of magic, yes, but
I mean, not even in the realm of magic, like the entire Greek pantheon.
Yeah, sure.
I get it. Like I'm willing to play with you. I'm just saying that like I think they may have just done a new thing. I'm also entirely willing to be wrong here. Like if there's some precedent where she was able to do that, I just don't know it. I'm working for pure ignorance here.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen it, and I just that was one of my issues. Obviously, like as I talked about earlier, but
yeah. It wasn't the most straightforward part, but I didn't have as many problems with it. Actually, that's a really good explanation of my review of your review. It wasn't the most straightforward part, but I didn't have as many problems with it.
Yeah. I just wound up having a lot of problems with it. And I hate it. I hate that I just feel this way, but I just can't get around some of this stuff. Like, and to be clear, I can get around bad CGI.
Oh yeah, no, we've watched seasons of Doctor Who.
I'm not, for all the talk Patty did of like tinkering with things and how they're making it better and having more time to do. Now I'm just sort of feeling like I was lied to or something. Like, what actually happened?
Okay, so
I smell Jeff John shenanigans. Just this.
Dude, I completely smell some John shenanigans here. It's not an infallible movie, defending it as I will against some of your barbs. But honestly, technically, my biggest problem was I couldn't fucking hear it.
Yeah, it was real low.
Super fucking low. Like my biggest problem with
real
this
low.
movie is the sound design. Bar nothing else. Like that is my biggest problem.
Yeah, I was like, dude, is
It
my
is either
browser
blowing out my
not-
speakers or I can't fucking hear a word they're fucking saying. I was infuriated sometimes.
Yeah, when I started it, I was like, was my browser's audio not on? Like, I don't know. And then I looked at it and it was like turned all the way up, but it was just like a tiny amount of green
Yeah.
at the very bottom. I was like, this is ridiculous.
No. I mean, if I would,
Get it together, HBO Max. Jeez.
I don't think it's HBO Max. I think that's how
I
that
don't
was
know what it
mixed.
is.
Because again, as she said, it was made for a theater, and that's
Mm-hmm.
appropriate in a theater where the speakers are, that ubiquitous and in a certain place. And frankly, like you watch it in a theater, and the low version of a film is still just like you're in a very dark room. Your eyes attenuate, your brain starts listening to audio more. There's a lot to be said for it as far as like why that works. But I would really like to see this version if it was made for streaming, to see if they did something different. Because in effect, watching it, I was turning the volume on my poor television up to 75 just to hear what the fuck they were saying, and then turning it down to about 25 in the action scenes. And look, I'm a big fan of dynamics is the actual term. I'm a big fan when they're right, but there should be some normalization when you're actually just. I shouldn't have. It'd be different if these were people in the back of the screen, and like if this was a thing you'd pick up later on your fifth watch, where you're like, oh, this so and so said so and so in the background. That's the volume I was hearing. Like, oh, this so and so referenced whatever in the background, and blah 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 blah. Like your leads should sound like they were fucking in the film. That. I could go on for a minute about how much it bothered me, but the point is it bothered me.
That's
I thought
all right.
that was terrible. The film looked fine, looked great even on sitting at home, streaming it. By the way, just to even mention the idea that we streamed this movie, I enjoyed the fact that I was able to actually fucking stream this movie.
Yeah, me
That
too.
was fantastic.
Yeah, I got to pause it and go get something to eat, and I took a leak,
Yeah, that was
It was
glorious. I watched it twice in one night, and part of it was just the first time I watched it. It was me, the wife, and Evelyn, and Evelyn would distract us from time to time, and I just had to put that shit on pause for a little while. I'll go deal with her, go feed her, whatever was going on. Like,
How did your wife like it? She's not one of us.
no, she actually enjoyed it.
No, that's good.
She actually also didn't like Cheetah. No, I mean,
Thought it looked bad.
she thought the transition looked bad. She really enjoyed
Mhm.
Kristen Wiig, but didn't think it looked good.
Yeah.
So she's with you on that. I'm not sure. I'm not with you on that. But I mean, I just that face did not look very Cheetah-like. The body did, and I liked a lot of the CGI that was happening. But the face just kind of looked like I feel like I've seen this before somewhere, but it just looked like the
Cats.
no. And I only say that because I've never seen Cats, and I only know that I've never seen Cats because my eyes are still in place and they haven't exploded.
Yeah.
Because I've heard that happens.
It looked rough, man.
I don't know from experience. I'm not completely sold on that. I get it. But I mean, I was watching it with the family, kind of had to pause it a bunch. And then at some point she went over to the in-laws for a little while, did some present opening, came back. And when she came back, I kind of had it, like I was cleaning the house, but I had put it back on again so I could sit down and watch a few scenes. And she walked in while I was watching one scene. It was like, and I kind of bitched about it in the first viewing, and she kind of came back and was like, yeah, you're right. I can't hear shit. I can't hear a fucking thing they're saying. So, I know. I mean, I have to turn on captions to get through certain scenes. I don't know.
I had to turn on captions too. My computer just wouldn't go up loud enough.
I didn't want to, tell my poor audio equipment to go up loud enough. Because, 2 scenes later, they would be in a firefight and I'd be blowing out fucking equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was not a well-mixed movie.
No.
That
Well,
is actually
Did you feel like it had the white sheen that you always complain about ABC programming having?
a little bit.
I felt like it did.
I
don't know what that effect is, but yeah.
I don't disagree. I almost want to go back and look for it in certain scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But I've complained about this before, and I do think it's a problem, is like everything has this super saturated white background. We're just, if you're just turning up like the bright setting on something almost. Like I get that. I can see that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a problem for me here, but I could see it.
Yeah. Man, I mean, I did not go into this, though. I did not go into this feeling like, man, I want to dislike this movie. I love the 80s. I love Gal Gadot. I love the 80s. I love Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman.
It's actually my favorite part of you not liking this movie and me liking it. It's just how different we are in this particular part of the history of the world.
Yeah. And one of my biggest problems is I saw no reason for it to be set in the 80s other than to just have like bad storytelling elements that have thankfully been pretty much scrubbed from the 80s or from like movies since the 80s.
A lot of it. Hey, by the way, just thinking about it, did you hear Blue Monday anywhere?
No, I did hear Duran Duran.
Oh, well, that's not the worst thing.
No. I mean, they had some 80s music in there from time to time.
Man, I didn't hear Blue Monday somewhere in the score.
I didn't hear Blue Monday. Maybe it was in there, but during like the big party scene or whatever, there was some pretty good music playing. I just,
Oh, they did this thing though. Listening back to the score, which by the way, the score was a lot of fun. Like, I really enjoyed the music for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But the soundtrack, it does have one predictable aspect to it, or score, I should say. Where like occasionally they would just pause, and right before, and this is first viewing, sitting down with the wife. Occasionally there would be like a scene that would happen, something would go on, and there was a brief kind of a gasp, like a breath vacuum area.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just start whistling. And it's happened a couple times in the movie, and invariably it would happen. But you could tell when they were going to do the Junkie XL theme.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying this because I disliked that. I love that theme. I enjoyed hearing it when I heard it. It was, you could tell when you were about to hear it.
Yeah, you could. We didn't talk about Linda Carter at all. Everything, we'll see her again?
I doubt it.
I hope
Seems
not.
hard to coordinate.
You mean her facial movements?
I mean, when we see the next film in 4 years.
Oh, so both of those things then.
So both of those things.
That bit at the end was just like, ooh, girl, you ain't acted in a long time. Let's move along. This is some like Helen Slater Supergirl shit. Okay.
I'm not sure it was better than the original series.
Maybe
altogether.
not. Maybe not. Like, it hurt my face to watch her try to wink.
No, my wife's comment, because she popped back in the second viewing, I think. My wife piped back in and was like, so that's a lot of Botox, but she does look great. I was like, yeah, she does look great. And I'm not sure you're wrong here.
That's roughly the same thought I had. It's just like, oh, what did you put in your face for this role?
Like, you look great. No disclaimers about, I'm not trying to shame anything that you've done here, but you did something, and I do wonder about the longevity about that.
Oh, you want to know what was confusing to me?
Mm-hmm.
They clearly planned the shot, and I don't know what happened. But there's when Max Lord drives into the White House driveway,
mm-hmm.
That is straight up a cartoon car. That is a CGI car. Like, I don't even, like, it's almost worse than the Batman animated series bit where like the car is like bending to the road.
Oh.
That they joke about, like Tim and Deanie and all those guys joke about. Like, dude, it is
fascinated me as a kid.
Oh yeah.
Like, it sounds super useful. I just don't know who can do that.
I love the commentary in that episode because they're just like, they see it and they're like, oh, they all like groan. there's the car. Like, the magic pencil car.
Breaking physics again.
Yeah, that car driving in that White House is just, whew, I don't know. I mean, maybe it was a practical car they actually shot, and then they were just like, it's too dirty or something, and they decided to clean it up in post or I don't know what happened, but that shit looked worse than Cavill's mustache in Justice League. I was like, what is that car doing?
I gotta look back on that one. I'm not sure.
That car is jank.
For it to be as bad as you're saying, I'm sure you're right. I don't recall it.
I don't know what happened in this movie. I don't know what happened to this movie. I don't have any interest in releasing the Patty cut. Just let it go. Let's just move on with our day. I'm glad Snyder says he liked it. I am willing to believe that he possibly even is contractually obligated to support it at this juncture. All of these people lie within the first Snyder 2 or 3 years of this
obligated thing. He's such a stickler.
I mean, they all do it when these movies come out. They have to say so. They have to say certain things. They're contractually obligated to say stuff.
I know.
About like, oh yeah, support the blah blah blah.
I don't think anything specifically happened to this movie, as you put it. I don't think it's bad by any stretch. I just, I'm sorry you didn't enjoy it. I really am.
Yeah. I mean,
I think we also just waited for it for so long that I feel like if it had been released, if it had been released a year ago, I feel like you would feel differently slightly.
Oh, I don't think I would have.
I don't know. So much hype.
I may have even hated it more because I was more excited about it back then.
Okay, but that's literally not the way excitement works.
No, it is. Because if you're more hyped up for something and it just really disappoints you, then you're going to hate it even more.
That's how hype works when you're disappointed. How hype works when you're excited about things is you like it even more. It's a double-edged sword.
Not if it's bad.
Yeah, but only if you experience it as being bad.
I don't think...
It is an experiential effect.
I don't think I would have
I'm not sure
had different opinions.
I'm not sure you would have at all. We could have had the same conversation in January, June, March, whenever one of the mini release dates was, for all I know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I do just wonder if you would have been less disdainful had you not had so much time to consider the whole thing. And then, for it to have come out as it did, after a month of us just bitching about how Patty is being really fucking tone deaf about this entire situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like Patty. I'm excited about her Star Wars, whatever she's about to do. I'm there for it. I'm good.
And I'm not now anymore.
But you've never been excited about a Star Wars.
I was actually I was so overwhelmed with all the Star Wars stuff coming out that day.
Uh-huh.
I was just like, I'm out. I'm never going to watch Mandalorian. I'm never going to go back for all that Clone Wars shit. I'm not doing all this. This is just too much. And, Star Wars kind of bores me. Then I watched her teaser of Rogue Squadron, and I don't know what it was. She got me with the dad story, with the looking for the perfect, fighter pilot movie, all that stuff. And then she's skating over to the trunk. She puts on the thing, and then she's going towards that was a
good teaser.
That got me. I was just
really good teaser.
Oh, I'm back in. I'm going to watch all the Star Wars shit. I'm going to do it. And now I'm out. I'm tired. I can't do this.
I feel like you're so fickle with the Star Wars.
I am, but I just don't give a shit.
And that's the thing that's brought most of us back in.
Yeah, and I keep seeing, things about Mandalorian, and that's fine. I've seen bits of Mandalorian. Bill Burr is really good. Like
he's actually crazy good in that role.
So good. Like, spoilers for Mandalorian when he pops that dude in the head, when he just they're having that whole conversation about the atrocities of the Empire,
yes,
or whatever it was, and he just goes boom, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
That was just dude, I cheered. I was just like, oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
My wife was watching it and I just kind of went in. It was just, but he's great and it looks like a pretty good show.
I also try to tell people when I can that, I've always thought he was a good stand-up and he remains a good stand-up. He has some controversial opinions, but he's usually got something redeemable even when he has something like that going on. F is for Family, man. F is for Family on Netflix is just, if you didn't think this guy had some acting range, watch that show. Mm-hmm. It's an animated show and it's phenomenal.
I've seen a clip of it and I didn't care for it.
So much fun.
We'll see.
Well, it's a lot of fun because it's basically him just trying to raise a family in the 70s. And it's him just basically doing a show about everything that he thought was wrong about how he was brought up. and describing the time when he was brought up. That's what it feels like, at least. And he lives next to like a radio DJ that sounds like Matthew McConaughey if he was a radio DJ. Like, it's a lot of fun that way.
Yeah.
I think Justin Long's his oldest son.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see if I ever get around to it.
Yeah, the point is, he's got a lot of range, though. But I hadn't really seen him do that range on screen before. I'd seen him in the last episode in season 1, and it was good. But this was different. This was really good.
Yeah.
Small Bill Burr. Bill Burr is a very different conversation. Small Bill Burr side conversation.
Yeah. So anyway, I think I've pretty much said everything I'm going to say about Wonder Woman 1984 at this juncture. I don't see myself changing much in the way of things. I thought it was really bad. I hated it. I kept hoping that it would pull me back out. I still liked some of the scenes, but it just kept not jibing with me, man. Like, it was just, I've described it all. I don't know. I'm glad you like it, though. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not going to sit here and go, like, you're an idiot for not liking this or whatever. I mean, I'm glad you liked it, man.
No,
I'm glad all of you guys liked it. I just didn't care for it. And I don't feel...
I'm also not going to get into the camp of, like, you're an idiot if you didn't like it. I mean, it is what it is, man. I mean, I wish you liked it more. Like I said, I wonder, had it been a different time, because we've had all this fucking time to think about it,
Yeah,
all those things being considered, if it happened maybe a year ago, if it would hit different is all.
Yeah, I mean, it may have, but I think overall I would have had the same opinion.
I think it's possible. I mean, you weren't huge on the first Wonder Woman film.
I wasn't. Like, I liked everything leading up to, like, the last act, and turns out that was all bullshit the studio made her do.
Yeah,
they changed her third act, and okay, well, I don't know. I felt bad about my feelings on this. Like, I actually, like, our friend Effie Offpelders of Stealing the Remote, I messaged her and I was like, tell me if I'm crazy about this, okay? I'm going to name things I didn't like in Wonder Woman 1984. And you tell me if you agree with me. Mm-hmm. And I just just listed it. And she was like, yep. Oh, thank you. Oh my God. This is, yes. Oh my God. I wish I was on the show with you. Oh, yes. And sure enough, she was like, I said almost, all these same things on my Letterboxd review. I was like, I haven't looked at it yet. I'll go look at it in a minute. Looked at it and I was just like, yes, all of these things. This is all, bro. It's like, I think I had more than what she even named off. But yeah, it was not a fun morning for a minute. I was just like, okay, so confirming. I
do feel really bad for you though, that, like, after all this. All right, so one of the things that I've enjoyed is I think it was Anthony, like, Brooklyn Blackman, that said, like, one of the things you have to do if you enjoy a DC film is you have to spend the next 5 hours actually explaining why you liked it or defending the film, which is deadly accurate. Like, even if you like it, you have to. It feels like like, God help you if you like it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You walk into a war zone. I don't envy that any more than I also don't envy just, after all this time, you didn't love it, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You wait that long, but hey, it's the name of the game. And
I was pretty happy with what I saw. Is like it. Sure, there are problems, but man, I enjoyed what the fuck I saw. It was a good 2.5 hours for me.
Yeah, not for me, but hey, I let this be a lesson to you. We're not just blindly loving DC, as people have claimed.
Oh no, we've lost so many at so many junctures. I mean, when we enjoyed Batman vs Superman, we lost people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, nothing is right. Nothing is the correct stance.
Yeah.
So who cares?
When we didn't loathe Justice League in 2017, we lost people.
No.
And of course we've soured on it since then,
Yes, but I would still watch it 2 or 3 times in a row before I watch this thing again.
See, that's just wrong.
Yeah. And then I would watch Batman and Robin, but not Dark Knight Rises.
That's just wrong.
I mean, I'm not saying, well, yeah, I am. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't watch Dark Knight Rises except under the most extraordinary circumstances.
Yeah. You gave me that movie on DVD and put it in a case that said only open in case of emergencies.
I forgot about that. I gave you a little glass case. I remember wanting to put a tiny little fireman's pickaxe in there. just didn't know how.
You got anything else, man?
Oh, no, I get it. I did watch, so I watched it twice yesterday, but it was, I watched it and, you know, after that I had to do some house stuff. Like we had to clean up after Christmas and everything. So I just had a couple hours of cleaning to do. So I threw on Man of Steel in the background. And then once I had enough cleaning that I could sit down again and watched it again. I should say watched Wonder Woman again.
Mm.
I regret not of that time. I do wish you'd enjoyed it more, but hey,
Yeah, well,
this is what it is.
can't have everything.
You know, it'll be all right.
Oh, yeah, I'll be fine.
We'll be
Plus the
back here in a
vinyl
few months
Blu-ray,
with,
all that bullshit.
we'll be back here in a few months with Snyder Cut and everything.
Yep. I really hope I like that one.
Like, if you don't, the first 30 minutes of our review are just going to be me laughing at you.
I mean, why would you be laughing at me?
There'll be tears of consolace, but still.
I mean, look, man, I don't know. I don't worship at the altar, man.
I know.
I just say what I see and how I feel.
I get it.
I'll be glad for Zach that he got to do whatever he wanted.
I get it.
All right. Well, I guess we'll be back after the new year, I suppose. 'Cause I'll be out of town this week. I go out of town tomorrow. So.
Yeah. No news coming this pending week.
Mm-hmm. Which I don't think there'll be much news anyway. I say that. There'll probably be a lot.
I mean, normally we'd cover like box office numbers or something, but
Right. Well, I will say that, you know, I feel better about this movie or our review of it because apparently, according to the headlines I've seen in the last, you know, a few hours, Wonder Woman 1984 is pretty damn divisive among fans. People are either loving it or hating it, according to certain headlines. So,
that feels right. That feels right.
Yep, the shine is off that shoe, Patty.
Not sure if I'm willing to go into that characterization, but
They may have lucked out on that $10 million blanket.
yeah, I don't know. I think it would have gotten its money if it went into theaters. We'll never know, though.
Maybe. I mean, not in today's environment.
Oh, for fuck, no, absolutely not.
Anyway,
Yeah. Sorry. Let me rephrase that entirely. No other considerations. I don't know if I think it would have made its money mostly
maybe.
had it gone into theaters like 14 months ago.
Oh, My Kingdom for more Kathy Yan and Birds of Prey.
Yeah, there's that. There's definitely that.
All right, I'm going to wrap it. I've got a number of things to do before we pack up and get out of here.
Fair enough.
So, well, we love you guys. We've gotten some feedback already saying that
That we hated
people
this
agree
review. I'm sorry.
No, we've already got some saying that they agree with me. And then even though they don't even know what I've said, and then we've got Effie who has actively said, no, I agree with you, Dave. And I've seen a few people say that they liked it. So I guess we'll see where we stand after this episode drops. I'm excited to see how many people we lose.
Oh, this may be a fun Twitter poll afterward or something.
Not a single movie comes out that we don't lose people. I'm good. Whatever.
That's what I was saying earlier. There is no version of this where we don't lose some people.
Yeah.
Sorry.
People like echo chambers. They like to hear their own voice repeated back to them.
Well, there's that, but there's always been that. It's just that now you can make the opposing voices go away, and that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But I can too. Black, black, black.
I get it.
It's a right I've been exercising more and more lately.
I get that too. I mean, I'm sure as hell curious. I'm open to any and all opposition to the film.
Yeah, just be people about it. Don't be jackasses, jackwagons, jerk offs,
It's not like I
Don't
have
do us
some
like people.
monetary tie to this thing. So like,
No.
you mean someone could give me a comment tomorrow that just unraveled the entire film, and I'd be like, well, absolutely, you're fucking right. I didn't see that. My bad. It'd be over.
Mm-hmm.
It happens. Also, it goes both ways. I'd like to think there's somebody who could write you like 4 words later, and you just think, oh man, you're right. I just undervalued this.
I won't say it's impossible.
Especially in 4 words.
Improbable, yes.
Should have made them more doable. So I feel like someone's just going to write you in and be like, this film was good. And you're like, yeah, that's just not going to do it. Sorry.
Sorry, buddy.
Good try.
Back to the drawing board.
Yeah. Go fuck yourself. That's 3 words. Arguably 4, but 3 mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Go fuck yourself, ass. Okay, well, at least you're at the right word count now.
Yeah. And my response to both would be, I already have today. Twice.
I'm sorry you didn't catch me on a day when I had an illness, but I'm ahead of you already.
Gotta clear the cobwebs.
Yeah.
All right, I'm done.
That's
Thanks for listening. DCOnscreen.com for theoretically every episode, as well as the links to our donation buttons, our Patreon, our store, all that jazz, all of our social media, all that stuff. You guys know. You know how it goes.
Oh,
All the things. And we'll be back quite soon. We've had a lot of episodes drop all at once. A lot of stuff drop all at once, especially if you're a Patreon listener. So, yeah, we're going to take a break for a second and let you take a break. Catch up on some other shows. Get your Euphomet in, your Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. You know, your Sinner's Crossroads, whatever you're listening to these days. Fans Without Borders, that's a good one. I'm really curious to see what Brent and Ray have to say about this thing.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's going to be like our show. I think Ray's going to love it unabashedly. Okay, he's DC stan, and Brent's going to be like, the CGI sucked, and blah, blah. You know, I think it's going to be very close. We'll see.
I'll listen, and then later I'll see if I take offense to you calling me a DC stan and unabashed.
I didn't say you were.
You literally just said like our
Ray's.
you symbolized it.
Oh no, I didn't mean to be like that. Like, you're not a DC stan. You dude, we're pretty. Like, I'm actually surprised you like this movie as much as you did, because
my hate
often
runs as deep as the next.
Yeah, we're like Sith Lords. Our hatred runs deep. Often.
We are not good examples of happy fans.
No.
That's not our price point here, you know.
No. But anyway, yeah. Someone's gonna tell Ray, you know, he called you a DC stan, and he'll be like,
how much time do you have for me to explain why that's wrong?
Yeah. You know, he's a smart guy. He's got all the answers.
Yeah, he's got the receipts. He'll be all right.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll be able to defend himself effectively. I'm not worried for him.
Yeah, no. Anyway. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm gone. Y'all take it easy.
Let's call it.
Take her easy for all us sinners out there, y'all.
See you in a couple weeks.
And, keep some DC on your screen.
Bye.
Our intro music is by Jason Goss and Michael Shackelford. Michael's band, Galactic Engineers of Magnetic Sounds, or GEMS, can be found on SoundCloud and Bandcamp. Visit DCOnscreen.com to find our Patreon, merch, contact information, and every episode of the show for free, including crossovers we've done with other podcasts. DC On Screen is a maladjusted production. For more from me and Jason, including sketch comedy, vlogs, parodies, and our improvised web series Hey Guy, visit maladjusted.tv.